It was a moment that no one at the African Union summit in Addis Ababa could have anticipated. What was intended to be a diplomatic forum on Islamic leadership in modern Africa instead erupted into one of the most controversial theological confrontations ever broadcast live. On the 15th of March, the world watched as Burkina Faso's outspoken young leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, directly challenged Saudi Crown Prince Mohammad Bin Salman on the very essence of Islamic governance. The exchange sent shockwaves across the Muslim world and left diplomatic ties between nations hanging by a thread. The setting was formal, a newly built AU conference center, filled with delegates from 54 nations. At a polished mahogany panel table sat 5 leaders, but by the end of the discussion, all attention was fixated on just 2. The 3 5-year-old revolutionary military leader from Burkina Faso and the 3 9-year-old heir to the Saudi throne. The panel, moderated by journalist Christian Amanor, was meant to explore how Islamic values could inform modern governance. Instead, it became the site of a public theological reckoning. Crown Prince Mohammed Bin Salman began with a carefully crafted speech in fluent Arabic, translated into English. He reaffirmed Saudi Arabia's commitment to authentic Islamic leadership and unity among Muslim nations, grounded in centuries-old interpretations of the faith. He emphasized the kingdom's role as custodian of the 2 holy mosques and its leadership under Vision 2030. His tone was diplomatic, measured, expected. Captain Traoré, however, did not follow the script. Speaking in French, his words translated into Arabic and English, Traoré's opening sentence signaled what was to come. "With all due respect to the kingdom," he said, "I must address what I see as a fundamental contradiction in your approach to Islamic leadership." The atmosphere in the room shifted. Delegates leaned in. Camera operators zoomed closer. Traoré didn't mince words. He accused the Saudi state of betraying Islamic principles, of using religion to uphold power, while disregarding the Quran's calls for justice and compassion. He invoked the Prophet Muhammad's legacy of siding with the poor and marginalized. "How?" he asked. "Do you reconcile that with your kingdom's treatment of migrant workers and its alliances with those who bomb Muslim children in Yemen?" The Crown Prince, visibly tense, defended the Saudi position, citing centuries of scholarly consensus and the country's role in safeguarding the holy sites. But Traoré pressed harder. "Consensus built on power structures that oppress is not divine guidance. It is political manipulation disguised as religion," he declared. Then, standing a breach of diplomatic protocol, he continued, "The Islam I practice is the Islam of liberation, not of palatial comfort built on the backs of the oppressed." The audience sat frozen. Many delegates shifted uncomfortably. Some applauded quietly. Others watched in disbelief. The Crown Prince responded with increasing firmness, accusing Traoré of conflating political grievances with theology. But Traoré was relentless. He quoted from the Quran and referenced the Prophet's farewell sermon, which emphasized equality across race and nationality principles he argued Saudi Arabia had long abandoned in favor of elitism and oil-based power. Then came the most explosive moment. Traoré addressed the commercialization of Hajj and Umrah, accusing the Saudi state of turning pilgrimage into a luxury for the wealthy. The Prophet never charged anyone to visit the Kaaba, he said. He welcomed all, regardless of wealth. That remark seemed to snap something in the Crown Prince. He stood abruptly, face visibly flushed, and began to gather his papers. His security detail stirred as he declared, "This conversation has devolved into baseless accusations." But before he could leave, Traoré responded with a final blow. "The only distortion here is the transformation of a religion born to challenge hierarchy into one used to justify it." The Crown Prince exited without another word. Within hours, clips of the exchange flooded social media. Hashtags like #TRaversumMBS trended globally. Reactions were immediate and polarized. In working-class neighborhoods from Lagos to Lahore, Cairo to Jakarta, many hailed Traoré's boldness. "He said what we've all been thinking," said one construction worker in a viral video that reached over 2 million views in a day. But not everyone was supportive. Prominent religious scholars from Gulf nations condemned the confrontation. Some accused Traoré of disrespecting the custodians of Islam's holiest sites. Others, like Kuwaiti cleric Dr. Abdul al-Mutaidi, labeled the challenge reckless and harmful to Muslim unity. In contrast, progressive Islamic thinkers praised Traoré. Dr. Amin Awada, a noted theologian, told CNN his words reflect decades of quiet academic criticism that no leader dared to voice in public. He didn't attack Islam, he attacked its politicization. The diplomatic fallout was swift. Saudi Arabia recalled its ambassador from Burkina Faso. Gulf investments in West Africa were delayed. Yet behind the scenes, countries like Turkey signaled indirect support. President Erdogan, without naming names, declared in a speech that true Islamic leadership must serve the people, not rule over them. The confrontation sparked a global debate. Does proximity to Mecca and Medina equate to religious authority? Dr. Ingrid Mattson, former head of the Islamic Society of North America, noted that the exchange had democratized the conversation on Islamic legitimacy. Muslims are asking, who gets to speak for Islam? Traoré, meanwhile, became a rising icon among young Muslims, particularly those disillusioned with traditional religious institutions. His social media following exploded. TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter saw thousands of videos analyzing his Quranic references. One viral clip from a 9-year-old theology student argued he wasn't talking to just MBS, he was talking to every Muslim who feels their religion's been hijacked by politics. Across Africa, the response was powerful. In Ouagadougou, crowds filled the streets in support of their leader. "Too long," one student said. "Have we been told that being Muslim means staying silent in the face of injustice?" Even among Muslim-majority governments with close Saudi ties, the moment sparked quiet reflection. While official statements remained cautious, private conversations shifted. A new discourse had entered the public sphere, one that could not be ignored. In the weeks that followed, both leaders managed the consequences in their own ways. The Crown Prince faced pushback from both reformist and conservative factions at home. Captain Traoré, meanwhile, was embraced as a symbol of a global Muslim, yearning for reform, one rooted in the Quran's radical call for justice, not its political appropriation. This was not merely a spat between two powerful men. It was a rupture in the status quo, a theological reckoning disguised as a diplomatic event. It laid bare a generational divide in the Muslim world between those upholding inherited authority and those demanding an Islam unbound by wealth or geography. And so, that March afternoon in Addis Ababa became more than a flashpoint. It became a turning point, marking the moment when the mosque entered the global marketplace of ideas and refused to remain silent.